Amazing. Uh, Welcome everyone back to On Air with Fahim. I am sorry I haven't done one of these in quite a while. I've been quite busy. I've got a new haircut, but I've got a lot in store. I've got an amazing guest with me today. So let's get straight into it. The tool your CFO needs to win big in 2026. So today we have joining us Mr. Karl Nasr from Kudwa. Um, just a few bits about Karl. Karl's got a bit of a background in banking. He's um, built the tool Kudwa to help the CFO out in this region. But I'll let Karl continue with the rest of his intro before I butcher it.
Perfect. Hi, Fahim. Thank you for having me. So just a bit of a background about me. I started my career in the banking sector, then joined the London Stock Exchange, worked with more than 50 CFOs in 13 countries, creating custom solutions for them. So that was basically a big driver behind the creation of Kudwa, which we're building the AI finance manager, or the financial brain of every single business.
Nice, nice. And where are you joining us from, Karl?
So I'm currently out of Beirut, but usually I'm around a bit everywhere, basically. So I'd rather not specify.
Bit of a traveler, no, definitely. I can definitely attest to that. And one thing I like to ask the guests: how did you actually come to know about us at Scope?
That's actually an interesting question. I'm actually not sure. It's been so long that we've been connected that I don't have the exact story, but I'm not sure if it was Sam, my co-founder, or it was myself. But I think it was through someone in the community when we first started. They're like, you really have to talk to these guys. It might even be Wafik guys, right? I don't have the story right, but I think it's someone in the community that brought us together because they saw basically the synergies that we could achieve together.
Yeah. And I think, look, from my introduction in the market, Kudwa was one of the first tools that I came across, and definitely in the past sort of 18 months or so of seeing the product, it's definitely one of the products that has come a long way. There's been a lot of changes and a lot of great developments along with all of the developments we see in the UAE market, and I'm excited to see where the product goes. Lastly, just before we kind of get into the problem, what Kudwa was here to fix, what's the actual meaning of the word Kudwa? I've always asked myself the question, but I haven't quite gotten around to asking it yet.
Sure. So Kudwa in Arabic means role model, and we are on the path to supporting every single company become the role model of itself, and this is basically where the meaning came from. And now, interestingly enough, this wasn't the first name that Kudwa had. It started off as being called Numu, which means growth, but then we decided to change it for some reasons we're not going to get into right now.
Nice. Well, I think that's a great name, and I'm glad I finally know what it means. Cool. Look, let's talk about the problem that Kudwa is here to fix, and I'll give you my understanding of the problem, especially as it relates to the UAE. If you can kind of fill in any gaps that I missed, but essentially what I see is finance teams running around doing frustrating things like downloading data from different accounting systems, from spreadsheets, putting everything together in one report. And what that leads to 9 times out of 10 is out of date reports. And in this market, speed is one thing that is going to help any company grow. And if you have those insights on time, you can make those decisions that are really going to make the difference and really make you stand out in a busy market like the UAE. Where I've seen Kudwa and how that can help, and hopefully you can probably fill some gaps in here. Kudwa can help you take those numbers from all of these different locations, put it into one software where you can actually make sense of what those numbers mean. And you can share those dashboards with other people within your organization that maybe don't have as much of a financial background. And at the end of it, what you essentially get to see is where is your money going? What do the numbers actually mean? And do it in an automated way with, that doesn't make you lose your hair. In plain English, that's kind of what I see in the market, and I see Kudwa
Yeah.
fixing, but I'm sure you've got a lot more to say.
No, that's an interesting view. Like, it does resonate with the problem. It's, I would say, a big portion of the problem, but then the benefits span a bit more, right? So if you think about the problem, if you look back, if you zoom out, right, 4 out of 5 SMEs die because of poor financial management. But then you start, okay, this is the general, very interesting topic, but let's deep dive a bit into it. Once we go deeper, we understand the number of, like, the amount of siloed data, the miscommunication between everyone, the manual tasks, and sometimes some sort of skill gaps, right? Because there's this skill to salary paid that you have to manage also, right? So all of these problems lead to the overarching, basically, issue, which is 4 out of 5 companies die. And to your point, what Kudwa does, on top of, like, the vision of becoming also an AI finance manager, it's basically, every company has on average 8 different data sources. So we bring all of these data sources together into one spot without having the burden of pulling data, building new integrations, right? A lot of the tools are already integrated, pre-built within the Kudwa platform. So you just connect to it, you directly have everything there, right? And then from there, you have your reports, your dashboards that are shared internally or externally. But on top of that, we have all the analytical workflows that either are done by extremely busy people in the company or by extremely expensive people in the company, and then they don't have time to follow through with the actions. So all of these things are basically where we come in and try to automate and increase efficiency and pinpoint problems that were basically not viewed by the naked eye, because you have to go pull from everywhere else and then go back to every software, move around, do this back and forth or ping pong to be able to find the root cause behind any problem.
Yeah. One thing that I've seen in this market is that as long as there's cash in the bank, people think that business is going well.
Yeah.
And people don't really look at their cash flow, and they don't really understand things like their burn rate. And even just putting those types of businesses to one side, you can ask, 9 out of 10 businesses that you come across in the UAE, what happens if you hire 5 more salespeople? They don't know. They don't know the implications on their bank account. They don't know, what potential growth that could bring. They don't know if they can make the decision, and it's often made on a whim, on like a feeling. And a product like Kudwa kind of brings that to life. Kind of brings me on to my next point. This is a busy area. Like, you have like the likes of Power BI and Tableau that can visualize huge data sets and drive those decisions. Then you have like more niche tools in this space like Sift and Fathom and so on and so forth. And then Kudwa kind of comes in and bridges that gap within the UAE. But what's from your side, what's the thing that makes Kudwa stand out?
I love this question. And I love that you brought in Power BI, actually, because Power BI and Tableau, because oddly enough, we've been more often been compared to Power BI, which is something I'm like, okay, really, this is sort of a success to a certain extent, right? Where people say, okay, how do you compare to Power BI, right? The idea behind Power BI is it requires either an internal team to be able to build these things for you, or an external consultant for you to be able to build these as well, right? So there is this single person or single team focus, and this is a problem that we've seen a lot because everyone wants data. We're in the age of data, right? And everyone requires this. So the revenue people, the marketing, the sales, everyone goes to the Power BI team to be able to pull these reports, and they become the bottleneck. Right? It's not because they don't know, it's because they have a lot of requests. So the finance team always turns out to be this team that is moved aside for the benefit of the money generating business in a way, right? Although the finance team is the person that or is the team that holds all the real figures, right? Everything goes back to the CFO. Everything goes back to the finance team for any decision, right? So we're thinking about how can we give this ease of access rather than having a Power BI team that supports them. So a plug and play solution. So versus Power BI and Tableau, we offer a lot of a plug and play solution. Versus the other players, the way that we look at it is we don't just give numbers, we give the reason behind the numbers. So the why behind the numbers. Given that we're connected to the transaction level or to the client level, we have the ability to understand, why is my revenue down? Is it because my customer success team dropped? Okay, it's because my customer success team dropped for the enterprise layer. So we understand that this is the real reason behind it. It's not, for example, a customer that just churned because they didn't like the product. It's because they weren't taught properly on how to use the product, right? So these are the two ways that we look at Kudwa and the differentiation within the market.
Nice. And I've just thought of another question.
Go ahead.
So every time I speak to someone about visualization and, driving more insights from data, especially within finance, the conversation often goes outside of finance and it goes into like non-financial data. And one thing that's really big in the UAE, and I know around the world at the moment, is like ESG data. Dubai or the UAE is really trying to influence it with like reducing like single-use plastics and so on. So this stuff is definitely in the minds of a lot of CFOs and a lot of organizations. What does Kudwa do to address that?
So it depends on like amazing initiatives, by the way, all of these like on the ESG front. But I wouldn't only look at it from an ESG perspective. I would look at it in terms of any non-financial metric, any operational data, right? These are things that we need to bring together, whether it is ESG for proper ESG reporting to get the benefits out of it, or it is for something else where I want to understand the count of AirPods sold per country, right? As simple as that, right? These are questions that are typical. So as long as the data is available somewhere, we have the ability to go in, crawl, or pull out this data to be able to create and customize any type of report and any type of dashboard and any type of analysis we want. So I wouldn't look at it only on the ESG front because we're not particularly an ESG reporting tool. There are some that are out there that are very much focused on that, carbon footprint counting and all of these things. But if you want to get this, like the availability of data is there within your own database or anywhere else, we have the ability to bring it in as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it just brings me back to a conversation I was having a few weeks ago. And essentially one of the things that we were talking about was with, like, say, for example, something like Dubai Mall. You could look at the revenue in Dubai Mall, and then you can look at the revenue of Dubai Mall and divide it by how many people actually enter Dubai Mall, and it'd be a very different conversation. And then also to go even deeper, you can look at the zones within Dubai Mall, and you can look at how much money is being spent in the play areas and the food areas, and look at how many is actually being spent on retail and like the clothing stores, for example. So yeah, it's definitely the non-financial side is I think the bit that really makes you understand what the numbers mean. That's amazing.
Cool. I couldn't agree more. It's the nice part. It's basically really understanding the business from the whole, like the whole perspective.
Yeah, for sure. I think it'd be great to see a demo of Kudwa, and specifically like the bits that stand out. I've been working with it, so I've seen it, but for the viewers, it'd be amazing to see. So I'll stop sharing my screen. If you could just share Kudwa, and yeah, go into that.
Okay, let me share my screen. All right, so this is basically where you would land into. It's the main dashboard that is pretty fun. It includes the most important metrics from cash, burn, cash flow view, expenses, P&L, and also hiring plan. So part of the non-financial metrics that we were just talking about. All of this data comes automatically from all of these integrations. So we already have integrations to think of it as Zoho, Wafik, Xero, QuickBooks, HubSpot, Stripe, and we're always adding new integrations, right? So once we bring all of this data, we connect using just the username and password. We have the ability to bring the data in from multi-entities and multi-currencies and consolidate them. On top of the consolidation, we do have the intercompany eliminations, right? So proper full-on consolidation. And whenever we do this, we automatically have this, the P&L, cash flow, balance sheet, and we have the ability to build any custom report using very easy drag and drop structure, so no need for technical. Some people like to call it no-code platform, right? But on top of that, we do have KPIs that are already created for you. And if you do not have these, we have the ability to customize any type of KPI for you pretty easily, right? So you just write anything that you want. And then from there, you'll get this autocomplete feature, and plain English, you'll be able to get all of these. But on top of that, we don't just stop there. We have the forecasting capability or looking ahead. So we don't just look back, we also look ahead on how do things look moving forward. I have the ability to forecast based on historical performance. I have the ability to forecast based on last period if we have some sort of seasonality, or rolling annualized. So how will I end the year? And of course, if you want to create a funky formula or a driver based, think of it as 1% of revenue is marketing. You will also have the ability to build that. But you will have the ability to, most companies have their budgets or their forecast already created, and they love their sheets. So we also have the ability to connect there to be able to bring this to life. So have this dynamic connection between your actual performance and your forecasted performance, so you can see both together, right? On top of that, we can deep dive into the analysis component of actual versus budget, or actual versus last month, or last year, or also averages, so that I can really understand what's happening there, right? And from there, we have the ability to look into all of the variances. But something that we have is when you press on a number, you will get the transactions, and we will highlight the biggest differences so that you can really understand where is it coming from. We have variance AI and Flux AI that was on the financial report side, and all of these are analyses that come directly as part of the product. So whenever you come here, you will get your variance analysis when you generate it. And this variance analysis will tell you what are the biggest variances, what are the best performers, the worst performers, what's the reason behind it. So we go to the transaction level, as I mentioned before, or even other software if they are connected, right? And we, of course, give you some recommendations for this to play as a starting point in the discussion. The Flux is more of a trend and correlation analysis, so a mix of the two, where we really identify, is there an anomaly within the trend? Is there a certain upward slope for cost of sale, but revenue is going down, which is, from a finance standpoint, a bit weird and incorrect, right? So we flag this and we tell you, okay, look at that, follow this transaction so that you can really understand what's happening there. And from there, we also give some recommendations, right? On top of that, to go back to the dashboards, we have a cash flow monitor. Think of it as ARAP, so accounts receivables, payables, both aging report and top 10 clients, top 10 whatever, payables, right? We also have a variance dashboard, so actual versus budget for any line item. And we also have the ability to look at any type of custom dashboard we want. So all of this is completely customizable. And to do that, you just press create, choose a title, of course. Let's call it Fahim. And then from there, you can choose whatever type you want. Let's stick to line for now. And from there, you just choose the fields that you want. So let's say I want basic revenue, pro revenue, and premium revenue. And I want them monthly for the period of Jan 2024. So here you'll be able to see historical performance and also forecasted performance, right? You save it and then you'll have it here, which you can share with people, download it as a PDF, and also share it, right? You can give live access to people on that. And you can also download a repeatable, let's say, monthly package with either being on Excel or on PDF, where you can look at the dashboards that you created, the reports, including all custom reports and variances with the AI analysis for it, and a per contact report. Per contact, think of it as the list of my suppliers or the list of my customers. How much are they spending or how much are we paying them per month? So it allows us to identify trends as well there. Last thing I want to show you before we talk a bit about the future, there's also an AR analysis report and an AP analysis report and a cash flow report that are generated automatically. All of these come as reports. We tell you every customer that you ever dealt with or every supplier, how is my payment cycle to them? How are they paying me? Are they good, bad, always paying late? How is my future cash flow looking like for the next 8 weeks based on the historical performance of all my customers or all my suppliers? Is there anything that I can do with them to incentivize them to pay early on or to make them always top performing clients, right? All of these are part of the basically cash flow analysis that we have on top of that. Of course, we do have more stuff and more stuff coming, right? On top of it, we have our AI chatbot where you can just chat and get anything, ask what if analysis and stuff like that. But this we can do it in another session as well.
No, it looks amazing. You touched on something I definitely want to speak about, the future. So what's next? Because look, I think after looking at Kudwa, you almost feel sorry for people who spend like hours and hours on weekends and after work putting these reports together just for them to be late when there is solutions like this available. Looks amazing, but what's on the horizon?
Sure. I'll tell you in a second, but just let me double down on your point because it's actually really important, because we noticed that there is these 5 to 10 days where the people responsible for these actually do not sleep. They leave office at 11, 12 at night, and they have to come back in the morning, and they're always frustrated within this period. Like you always hear about these times. So I'm with you on that, really. Now, to talk a bit about the future, the way that we look at it is the more we want Kudwa to be really there with you wherever and whatever you do. And if you think about it, what does this actually mean? We want Kudwa to be able to have context over the company so that it can give better results, better insights, better recommendations. So the way that we're growing with it is we're giving Kudwa a better and a bigger brain that knows more the company itself, more the industry itself, understands what are the intricacies of the markets, right? And understanding the cash cycle, how do things happen. So this is on, let's say, the short to medium term. We also have on top of that, think of it as your AI finance manager in your pocket. So any question you might have, you can directly ask it. What if I want to do this? What if I want to do that? Based on the training that we already have and based on your data and your performance, right? So this is where we're heading. And the idea here is for us to be able to support the finance teams as much as we can, rather than having them go back, run any number that they have, and then come back. They can spend more time on actually and actively working on all of these things, right? And this comes from multitude of integrations and even more. That's the idea.
Exciting. Look, just to say again, when I saw the product like 18 months ago to where it is now is very nice to see, you know, how much development has gone into it, and just excited to see what's next. I'm just going to share. So if anyone wants to reach out and have a bit more of a further discussion and a demo, and have a look at it kind of within your own practice, just shoot me a message. That's directly to my my WhatsApp.
I'll do that as well.
Through cool. We went through like integrations, but I had just a couple of things that I was thinking about whilst looking at it. I think, look, the product looks really, really easy to use. There's two things that anyone's going to really ask when looking at this. So the first one's going to be around pricing, like how much does it cost? Is it something that, you know, is going to cost an arm and a leg, or is it, you know, quite reasonable? And then the second thing, in terms of the dashboards, in terms of like overall utilization, because the last thing you want to do is you want to set all these amazing dashboards up and then they just don't get utilized. So is there any like, well, how can I like get everyone else to buy into looking at these dashboards often, and like what are some examples, if any, of people, you know, who are using these dashboards to make better decisions, not just on a financial level, at, you know, sales, at marketing, or whatever it may be? Like, how do I get overall buy-in for this?
This is really great, right? Let's start with the second question, because I think it's the one that requires the most like, let's say, deep dive into it. So how to make adoption, right? How to let everyone understand the value. So first of all, it comes from having an owner to it, right? So if you look at every single company, there's an owner to every single task, or there's an owner to every single workflow. First of all, this owner needs to be convinced, right? It's not a top-bottom thing. I would always think, okay, it is better to look at it from whoever is using the product needs to be fully convinced. Now, the second layer is you might understand, okay, where am I wasting time today? Is it in consolidation? Is it in bringing stuff manually? Is it in what's the risk attributed to it as well on top of it, right? Once you look at all of these, it makes so much sense, because every single month I have these days where I just don't sleep. People can't talk to me. I really am fully focused on closing these numbers, sharing them with people. And for some odd reason, I'm always late, and I always am the bad person in this company, because I have to always do it myself, and I have to always rely on pulling data, putting it on Excel, validating, making sure that everything is correct, because there is an underlying risk when you download and copy paste and all of these things, right? And that's why finance people always have these little checks that highlight if this is not equal to that, it starts highlighting, and you see their Excel is either in red or in green or whatever it is. So this is the second part. The third part, how to make it a more of a company-wide structure. One of our customers actually told us this, and it put a huge smile on my face. And from that moment, things changed internally for them. They were in a meeting, board style meeting, and they were looking at, everyone was looking at, okay, guys, we did great. This month we had this marketing campaign that really was crazy, amazing. And this person, the user of the product, just opened the product and just looked at the current performance versus last year. He wanted to really understand whether or not it was really the campaign that performed really well, or was it a sort of something else. So turns out, after looking at Kudwa, in a second, they were able to understand that it was the seasonality actually that played this role. It wasn't the campaign. So not to butcher the marketing effort, but this made sense that they didn't spend money on the campaign, money that they spent elsewhere, to make sure that, okay, actually this is a seasonality thing, so it wasn't a campaign, so let's not dump all of our money in it, because effectively it's not going to reap basically the rewards. So once you prove these little things, right, in little areas, in little meetings, you'll get the full on company buy-in. But it has to start with one person that looks at it from an efficiency, value, and all of that, and the rest comes with it.
Thank you. So you kindly offered some of the viewers like an audit, but just give us a bit of background around that, and then yeah, we'll close off.
I didn't get that. Sorry, can you repeat it?
Oh, you've kindly offered the viewers like a free audit.
Yeah, 100%.
Give us some details about that, and then yeah, we'll close the meeting.
Of course. So thank you for reminding me, and repeating your question, first of all. So if you think about it, a lot of our customers come in and they just want to understand, how am I performing from a tech stack perspective, from a P&L perspective, cash flow and balance sheet perspective. So and this is completely normal, right? Before you do anything, you want to understand, how am I internally? So what I want to offer from anyone who comes and mentions Fahim or mentions this webinar, just let me know, and I'm happy to basically do a thorough audit on your actual tech stack. Does it fit your, let's say, revenue, cost, headcount, all of these things? Or is there something else that you need to change, be it on the accounting tech stack, on the payables, receivables, banking, whatever it is, right? And on top of that, we'll also give a view on the general ledger structure. And if there is something, given the vision that you might have, that you want to play around with, that you want to tweak, happy to do that, of course, free of charge. So we'll be able to support your growth first and foremost.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Karl.
Thank you for having me.
Please do take up Karl on the offer. His time is definitely precious. They're building the company out, so I would jump on that as soon as possible if it's useful to you. Shoot me a message on my WhatsApp if you do need any support on Kudwa. If you want to talk about how much like it would cost, how long it would take to implement, anything like that, let's continue the conversation. But lastly, thank you very much, Karl, for joining us, for giving us all those insights. I think a lot of it even stretches outside of Kudwa. Is more just how you approach problems within your business. So yeah, it's been really, really interesting having this conversation. And yeah, thank you again.
Thank you, Fahim. Really, it was a pleasure talking to you, and looking forward to our next chat.
Appreciate it. Cool.
Take care.
Ciao.
Bye, man.